All right, guys, I know this is somewhat off the beaten path. This is more of a thing we would have covered over on the Matrix and Road show. However, there is a connection with politics if you consider that Alec Baldwin is a world heavyweight champion of individuals that suffers from one case, ugly case of TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. We all have seen Alec Baldwin on Saturday Night Live, or at least the clips of it. I'm not sure who actually watches the show outside of when Dave Chappelle shows up. But we've all seen him, of course, doing the Trump impressions. He hates Trump with a passion. And one might only call this karma because he thought he had skated around the charges involving the movie Rust. Even to the point that the civil lawsuit that Halyna Hutchins' husband had filed against Alec Baldwin, and keep in mind, he's a producer, which I said, well, even if you don't get him on pulling the trigger, as a producer, don't you have some kind of responsibility to the entire safety of the entire movie? Being a producer, that was always my thing. You know, there should have been multiple ways that they could have, well, for lack of a better way of putting it, nailed his sorry ass. Well, the Trump hater deluxe may be suffering from a monster case of karma has come back to bite you in the ass. Alec Baldwin likely to be charged again in fatal Rust shooting. My wife's mouth just dropped because she didn't know where I was going with this. Alec Baldwin might once again face criminal charges in connection with the fatal shooting of Halyna Hutchins on the set of Rust. Baldwin admitted to holding a pistol unknowingly loaded with live ammo that was used to accidentally shoot and kill Hutchins on the set of the film in 2021. Hutchins was working a camera with the weapon pointed directly at her when it was fired. The actor has maintained he never pulled the trigger, which was directly disputed by the FBI. The FBI came to the conclusion he absolutely pulled the trigger on the revolver, but it's still not known how live ammo was loaded into the weapon. I would assume the armorer did it. As far as loading the weapon, he still pulled the trigger. I think she's in a bind too, really and truly. Baldwin initially faced criminal charges, but the case was dropped. Now it's reportedly likely he is going to be slapped with new charges. The New Mexico prosecutors plan on charging Baldwin with involuntary manslaughter, and the case will be presented to a grand jury in November, according to multiple reports. This is where it just gets flat sad, that this is the most, I guess, he could get. Baldwin faces 18 months in prison if convicted. The multiple reports also said there have been discussions about a possible plea deal, but it's unknown right now whether or not one will be reached. One of the most recent issues with the case was a claim additional safety training wasn't provided out of a financial motive. In other words, him as a producer may have been too cheap to pay for it. A judge recently ordered documents turned over to determine whether or not that was the case. Now, numerous reports state he will be charged again and could face 1.5 years in prison. It's a rapidly developing situation. It is, because his attorneys have responded. TMZ's got the attorney's response. Alec Baldwin might be put through the legal ringer again because prosecutors are zeroing in on him again. A move his legal team thinks is complete BS. The Santa Fe District's Attorney's Office announced Monday that they'll convene a grand jury in the near future to consider whether to refile involuntary manslaughter charge against Baldwin, saying they feel it's appropriate for ordinary citizens to decide if the case against him should be revived. So you're going to have people take a look at the case and go, yeah, maybe. Baldwin's attorney, Lucas Nikas, and Alex Spiro of Quinn Emanuel tells TMZ, quote, "It is unfortunate that a terrible tragedy has been turned into this misguided prosecution. We will answer any charges in court. Remember, the DA dropped the same charge against Baldwin just earlier this year after making a big show of filing charges in the first place while they seemed to be close to close the book. They seemed to close the book on his role in the fatal shooting of Halyna Hutchins. They did say at the time that they reserved the right to recharge him. They did come out and say that they could choose to recharge him. The latest news comes on the heels of a ruling in the pending case against armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed just last week when the judge decided that the production companies involved in Rust had to fork over correspondence and other documents pertaining to the film's pre-production. The implication, prosecutors wanted to see what, if any, role Alec as a producer, I just talked about this, of the film as it pertains to allegations that corners were cut when it came to gun safety and training, something Gutierrez-Reed claimed took place in defending herself. Gutierrez-Reed is also being criminally prosecuted in the case with the same charge. If convicted, it carries up to 18 months in prison. So, yeah, there we go. They both could end up facing the music on this situation. Again, it's kind of sad, but I'm going to tell you what's messed up, what's really messed up. And where I sort of left off in all this was the fact that there was a civil case. Halyna Hutchins' husband now, that she was married to, was suing Alec Baldwin, okay? And suing him for a lot of money. He wanted some vengeance, yada, 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 right? Hey, you shot my wife, all right? He took a agreement, and Alec Baldwin paid him, and then paid him a portion of the percentage of the movie that was to be made on the movie. And I'm like, what? You agreed to this? And then it gets worse. The husband agreed to work with Alec Baldwin on the movie after Alec Baldwin had already shot his wife. And there was this big deal made about how upset he was and yada, yada, yada. And next thing you know, boom, we've reached an agreement with all of these despicable things involved, like you working alongside Alec Baldwin because they're finishing this movie. What distribution company is going to release this film? That's what I want to know. It's going to end up on Tubi or Tubi. Is it Tubi or Tubi? Wherever shows them low-budget movies where they use like fake babies and you can literally tell they're fake babies in the movie. I mean, whoa. It's going to end up somewhere just off the beaten path because who the hell else is going to pick this movie up? Wow. Hey, you remember that movie? I think Jensen Ackles is actually in this film. And normally I'd be like, because I got to be honest, as an actor, I like Alec Baldwin. As an actor, I can't stand his politics. But The Getaway and a bunch of movies, most of the movies I've seen him in, I have liked. But I'd have been like Western, Alec Baldwin, Jensen Ackles from Supernatural, and The Boys. I'm going to probably check this out. Now, I'm going to be like, I'm not touching this movie with a 1,000-foot pole. Gross. You're all gross. God, Hollywood is despicable. Really? There's like not a... If you put everybody together, is there one molecule of a moral or value set anywhere? Or did all of you spend time on Epstein Island? Just wondering. Peace, I'm out. Till next time.